Hello everyone, I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. So today I'm going to talk about narcissism and mother-in-law. And before I get going, I would request you all to like, share, subscribe the channel, hit the notification bell so you guys are updated whenever we put out a new content. So these narcissistic mother-in-laws were narcissistic daughters in the past, narcissistic sister, narcissistic wife, narcissistic mother. Yeah, and now they have graduated and they have become a narcissistic mother-in-law. So today we are going to talk about narcissistic mother-in-law and their relationship with the daughter-in-law. So let's get going. So there are three areas, or rather I would say there are three aspects to observe, when, we are talking about a relationship, between this narcissistic mother-in-law and her daughter-in-law. So the first aspect that we are going to talk about is over-involvement. The second aspect that we would be talking about is control messages. And the third aspect that we would be talking about is personal attacks. So now let's break it down. So over-involvement. As we all know that narcissists feel entitled, they believe that they need that special treatment. Rules are not for them, and everyone has to, bow down to them. Everyone has to serve them. Yeah. So that is how these narcissists think. So narcissistic mothers see their son as a supply. They don't see their son as an individual, with his own uniqueness and individuality. Because she is so self-absorbed, she's so self-centered, and she is in this never-ending quest for admiration, approval, and that's how it is. So when a girl gets married to the son of a narcissistic mother, the girl is also seen as a supply. The son is a supply, an extension of herself. The daughter is a part of that extension. The daughter is a part of that supply. Yeah. And they both are expected to do the things the way how the mother-in-law wants. Yeah, there is a lot of control, there is a lot of manipulation, and of course we can't deny the fact that the son was raised with a lot of gaslighting, and till the time his mother is alive, he feels that he's not good enough, and he keeps on doing beyond his capacity, beyond his level. He keeps on doing it to get that good son, crumb, but that crumb never comes his way. Yeah, I mean, a tiny little bit of validations is given on and off by the mother, but she never validates and labels him as the good son, because then he might just move on. He might try and outgrow. So how does the mother control? The mother controls by gaslighting. Coverts have their own way. Grandiose has their own way. The entire idea is to keep the supply in control and tell them to do whatever you want them to do. Let them, be and act and behave like a puppet. Yeah, and you are the one who's, pulling all the strings. So this daughter-in-law is not seen as a different entity. This daughter-in-law's individuality and uniqueness is not respected. Her boundaries and personal space is not respected by the mother-in-law. There is no privacy, there is no boundary. The mother-in-law doesn't hesitate in dictating terms to the daughter-in-law. Yeah, she had been doing it with her son, and now son has got a wife, and the mother-in-law gets into this mode of coaching. Yeah, coaching and grooming the daughter-in-law for her abuse that she's going to do with both of them. Earlier it was only the son, now the daughter-in-law has also joined the gang. So this mother-in-law then takes all that extra effort to groom the daughter-in-law also, so this mother-in-law can control and abuse both of them. So this mother-in-law doesn't respect personal space. She will keep on invading, private areas. She would just be anywhere and everywhere. When there's a son and his wife in the house, she wouldn't leave them alone. She would expect her to be the center of attention. She would want the son to keep admiring her. She would want the daughter-in-law also to keep admiring her, keep obeying and keep playing by her rule. Well, if the daughter-in-law chooses not to play by her rule, this narcissistic mother-in-law won't hesitate in pulling the daughter-in-law by her feet to the fire. The rules are not applicable for the narcissist, but the rules are very much applicable and expected to be followed if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, and when the rules are laid out by the narcissist, you have to play by the rule. If you reject, if you deny, your life is going to be miserable and they are going to torment you and make your life hell. But here, when we are talking about these narcissistic mother-in-laws, daughter-in-law and the son, the mother-in-law overall would also appear to be very arrogant and condescending in her behavior, action, and the way how she speaks. And the arrogance might heighten the daughter-in-law if she keeps enforcing boundaries, or if she keeps pinpointing that she needs space, and mom-in-law, you are just getting too involved, give us some space. If she's vocal about these things, the mother-in-law is not going to take it nicely, and she might even insinuate and try and gaslight the son that, see, the daughter-in-law is misbehaving with me. Is this how you want your mother to be treated? As it is, this narcissistic mother-in-law or this narcissistic mother has gaslighted and controlled the son throughout. Now when he has a wife and the wife denies, the wife refuses to play by the rules of this narcissistic mother, the narcissistic mother-in-law can bring in her son and triangulate and tell the son that you should tell her not to disobey me, you should tell her to listen to me, she's being very selfish and mean, she's going to destroy the family, she's a horrible woman you have married. Yeah, so the entire idea is the daughter-in-law has to play by the rules, she has to obey, and she never has to say no, and she should be okay with the mother-in-law running over her space and boundaries. That's absolutely fine. There is nothing called personal when you have a narcissist in the relationship. So there is one more interesting thing to observe, that if these daughter-in-laws are constantly denying and rejecting to the control to what these mother-in-laws want, these mother-in-laws keep a tab, keep a score sheet, and she keeps it in her mind, and her entire goal then becomes to teach the daughter-in-law a lesson. In the course of teaching her the lesson, the mother-in-law begins to insinuate the son, justify son's ill behavior, insinuates son to be violent with the daughter-in-law, and she also allows and justifies son's extramarital affair. First, she keeps on gaslighting the son. Your wife is not good, she is selfish, she is bad. If the son gets into an extramarital relationship and if the mother-in-law comes to know, she is going to then validate it and say, what to do? Daughter-in-law, you had not been obedient. I was trying to teach you the right thing, but you did not listen to me, and see, what can I do? If you would have had listened, the son wouldn't have had engaged into all these wrong activities and wouldn't have had engaged into extramarital affair. So this narcissistic mother-in-law has a lot of contempt, whether it is her son, whether it is daughter-in-law, whether it is husband, anyone. Her entire goal and mission becomes to teach people lesson when she is injured and when she is hurt, when people cause her the narcissistic injury. That becomes the only mission for these mother-in-laws, to teach whoever caused her injury, to teach them a good lesson and reinforce the control. Now let's understand these control messages. So these control messages by these narcissistic mother-in-law would be like, well, you need to do this in order to be a good wife. You need to do what I'm saying, only then you can be a good daughter-in-law in the family. You need to learn my way, adopt my ways as to how you should raise your child. You can't be a good mother if you don't listen to me. You can't be a good wife if you don't listen to me or play by my rules. That is how these control messages are. And again, when this narcissistic mother-in-law sees or feels that she's losing control over the daughter-in-law, she's again going to bring in the son. Triangulation. She's going to, do all that drama in front of the son. She's going to emotionally blackmail him, gaslight him. I have done so much for you, and this is what I'm getting in return. The daughter-in-law is not being obedient. She's not listening to me. She's just saying no to anything and everything. Isn't this disrespectful? Do you want your mother to be disrespected like this by that woman? I don't think she's a good woman. She's not good for you. Poor son. As it is, he had been, controlled and conditioned to be abused by the narcissistic mother. And now he has to, join, her mission and do what she wants him to do. So this narcissistic mother-in-law would tell the son to be violent, tell the son to be abusive. So overall, to make the daughter-in-law feel miserable, and then she surrenders back, and then she gives up everything. She becomes a supply and she becomes a servant. So she keeps doing what she wants, the mother-in-law wants. So these narcissistic mother-in-laws are really nasty. So when these narcissistic mother-in-laws, see that they are unable to control the daughter-in-law, she's going to bring in the son, the daughter, the husband, neighbor. She's going to summon her flying monkeys, and she's going to, gaslight, manipulate, abuse, torture the daughter-in-law, so that the daughter-in-law gives up her own life, gives up being authentic, and just surrenders and becomes a servant to the narcissistic mother-in-law. Things are very toxic and dysfunctional, and trust me, I have seen daughter-in-laws ending up their life, then getting into divorces, and the divorce is not easy and simple. Things are very complicated. This narcissistic mother-in-law begins to do a lot of drama, playing victim. So things are very nasty. I mean, you need to look out for the red flags beforehand. And if you see the red flags, you need to, figure out what you're going to do. You just can't fight with them. Yeah. So these narcissists have a lot of contempt. They are very vengeful, and they are not going to let you go or slip by. They are going to make you feel miserable. They're going to hurt you to that extent and limit when you just give up and you surrender and you fall on their feet. That is how these narcissistic mother-in-laws are. So the last aspect that you can observe with these narcissistic mother-in-law is these narcissistic mother-in-laws don't hesitate in engaging into personal attacks, personally attacking the choices of the daughter-in-law, her likes, her dislikes, her looks, etc. So these mother-in-laws can say hurtful things like, well, my son didn't deserve a woman like you, he deserves someone better. Well, you're not an obedient wife. Well, you look ugly, you don't look that great. I don't know how is my son in love with you. You don't look good at all. You don't even listen. You're not obedient. I don't know why is he still married to you. Well, what you are eating, that's horrible. That's not what we eat. Your way is the wrong way, and I really don't know why is my son with you. I really feel sorry for my son. my way is the right way. If you don't follow that, you know what's coming your way. So this is how nasty, how hurtful, how condescending these mother-in-laws can get, these narcissistic mother-in-laws can get, and they really don't care. They really don't care what the daughter-in-laws feel. So these daughter-in-laws who have low tolerance, who can't tolerate, they either get out of the relationship, they either go separate, stay in a separate house, live far off, or maybe even end the relationship, because the son of a narcissistic mother is generally, I mean, mostly it is seen that the sons are extremely emotionally handicapped, and they are never allowed to become strong and independent, and the codependency of these sons on their mother is more. So it becomes very difficult for a healthy individual to survive in such relationship where the mother is almost like a partner to the son. Yeah. And the mother doesn't hesitate in parentifying the son, and there is a lot of emotional incest. No woman would tolerate that. They need their space, they need their privacy, they need that environment to be themselves and let the relationship grow with any man. So that is how relationships are. But these narcissistic mother-in-laws want to control, they ruin everything, and they ruin you to an extent where you begin to doubt your own self. You begin to think that maybe something is wrong with me, maybe I'm worthless. Yes, so this was it. This was all about narcissistic mother-in-law. In case if you would like to add in something, you can always comment below. And please take care of yourself, say no to abuse, say no to toxicity, and please observe those red flags. In the first place, don't get into relationship where there is a narcissist. And if you get into, you need to learn how to handle it, manage it, and how you need to survive. Yeah. And if things are going absolute south, and if you can't handle and manage and survive, you need to cut ties from such toxic relationship. So yes, please take care of yourself. Lots of love and blessings to all of you. Bye.